Starting? Okay. Going live. Welcome, everyone, to another Wednesday morning miracle. Course in Miracles call that we run twice a week. For those of you guys that are brand new or tuning in from any of the social media platforms. It is a self-study book, which we do in a group setting. So I've been teaching this for the last 7 years. Been studying for the last 10. It is a book that is channeled, right? So scribe, she felt like Jesus actually came to her, and she scribed all these notes that she wrote down. And for me, it has brought a lot of peace into my life. And I would say that it probably affects everything that I do. Thank you, Brooke. So, yeah, let's just jump right into it. We are on chapter 14, section 1 today. We made it through chapter 13, so it's a whole new energy now with a new chapter, right? This chapter is called Teaching for Truth. The last chapter was the guiltless world, so we kind of are leaving that space now, where we ended with the peace of heaven. And today we're going to go into section 1 of chapter 14, which is the conditions of learning. And it's so perfect because I had a scenario this whole week, and it wasn't until last night, right before this call here on Wednesday, I finally broke through. I've been struggling with something for a pretty long time. So yeah, I'm going to go into that today, and just how I went from fear, guilt, shame to a place of peace and gratitude. And it took a while. It took a lot of prayers, but it happened. So I'll share that here in just a minute. But as we get started, I always want to now open our call here with a little bit of introduction with A Course in Miracles. And it's just very simple. It's the exact paragraph that the Course opens with, which basically, if you understand this paragraph right here, you will understand the entire teachings of the Course. However, the Course isn't just something that you just read and you're like, oh, I read it and now I know. It's an ongoing practice, because the Course is a tool for us. Life is the curriculum, and our awareness and our presence is our teacher. So the ability to be able to reflect deeply about your relationship to the world, your perception to the world, because everything is perception. So all right. So to start the Course, the Course begins with, this is A Course in Miracles. So it's like, okay, great. And this is the first words that Helen Schuckman heard when she started finally taking notes. Well, the voice that she kept hearing in her head was, this is A Course in Miracles, take notes. This is A Course in Miracles, take notes. She was working at Columbia University, where the interactions between her colleagues were really tense. So her and her colleague William Thefford, was like, there must be a better way. There must be a better way is actually the key that opened up this information for her. So then, the Course says that spirit and God and love comes to you not from like you performing or having to earn the worth of it. It comes from willingness, right? So there must be a better way implies that there's a willingness, that you are open to receiving some kind of new information. And God waits, and spirit waits for us to ask that question. Oftentimes in our life, we don't ask that question. We go to I already know. I already feel like a victim. This is right. This is wrong. All right. So all of our distresses, and all of our discomforts and challenges all comes from our inability to see things as the way they are, or to accept things as the way they are. We lose our peace when things are not as we want them to be. So it says, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take, it is voluntary. So that means this is a required course. This is not an optional course. Your awakening is not optional. Eventually, every one of us will really remember who we really are. And then that means the only question comes down to how long are we going to resist? How long will we stay in fear? How long will we delay our homecoming? And so free will, the next line says, free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. So what you want to take at a given time. You don't get to write your soul's lesson plans. You don't get to write the lessons that you're supposed to learn in this lifetime. Right? It's so interesting. Like some of us if you think about all the people in the world and the lessons and the places that they're born and the things that they have to go through, you are not the one that writes that plan. You are there to experience and find yourself in that, right? Your curriculum, that's your curriculum. We can choose how long we stay in suffering. That's what we got. Because suffering is optional. You can awaken through joy. I love this part because this is how I choose. I choose to awaken joyfully. Some people really choose to always walk the path of the dark side or the shadows, right? It's like, we need to do more work. There must be more work. I have to prove myself. And we do live in a society where the world challenges us and you have to prove yourself, right? It's almost like guilty until proven innocent. When every single part of us wants to live into the innocent until proven guilty. So it means that you can elect what to take at any given time. You are choosing. Do I awaken joyfully or do I have to awaken through pain? To the Holy Spirit, it's the same. But it is up to you how you want to enjoy, how you want to experience life. So then it says, the Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. So love, if you just think about love for yourself, what is love? And then you probably have a whole bunch of things. What does love mean in my relationships? And then as we define it each time, we're like, wait, but it could be something else too. It could be more, couldn't it? So then love also is not something that we learn. Or we're not learning love. Love isn't an idea. Love is just who we are. Love is what we are. And so as we study the Course, this is not an addition to your philosophy. This is really important. It's not an addition, right? We're always looking for other things, other tools. I was at an event last week and, someone was like, hey, I just added the hypnosis training certification to my repertoire of healing tools. And so the Course is not that. The Course is not another thing. The Course isn't adding anything to you. It's actually helping you remove everything that isn't love, that isn't you. So the Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. And that is why we are here. That is why we are on this call here today, is that we are going to, through our shares and through our read, remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So see, love is already here. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't here. We are just removing the blockages to the awareness of love. We're not here to become better, right? We're not adding more tools to our tool belt. We're just removing the blocks of the fear, of the guilt, of the resistances to what is already within us. Welcome, Babeski. And so, hi. It closes with the foundation of the entire course, which is nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Actually, wait, sorry, I missed a line. So the opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposites, right? This is actually a really powerful line because we live in duality. And a lot of Eastern philosophies and teachings are, the practice of non-duality. Why the practice of non-duality? Because the only duality that we really think exists is that there is heaven and hell. There is God and there's the ego. There is love, there is fear. They're basically synonyms for each other, right? Love and fear. The opposite of love is fear. We're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But what the course is inviting us into is removing that duality, that what if, and we know this to be true for all of us, right? As you're listening to this, that somehow love does encompass everything. Somehow that the hardest things you ever had to go through was a gift for you, was a blessing for you. So that means all things are encompassed in love, and we can accept it all. And then so nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God, is when we finally realize that truth and love cannot be harmed, and what is false never really existed. So you are safe to stop defending your illusions, and now you can come home. This is the entire representation of the crucifixion of Christ. Crucifixion is the death. Crucifixion is the shame, the guilt, the attack. The resurrection is that nothing real can be threatened. That even in the midst of the worst torture that you human beings can ever even imagine, that love still triumphs over it. That Christ can still say, "Forgive my brothers, for they know not what they do," while being crucified. Right? So it's a great reminder for me, and it's one of the reasons I wear a cross, is because that's a reminder. It's just a reminder for me that nothing real can be threatened. That love triumphs over all things, and it's possible, and it's here right now. So that's the opening. And then herein lies the peace of God. So the course is about taking us to the peace of God. And so before we, go into chapter 14, which is amazing. So I would invite everybody, if you're here now, that you are participating and you are joining into a chapter called Teaching for Truth. And I would encourage you to do your best to make every section of this course, of this chapter, right? Perhaps you're like, I make it on and off, and you're kind of jumping into chapter 12, section 2, and then you go into chapter 13, section 1. But just going through one whole section, like make a commitment to yourself that I will make it for every single section of this chapter, which I will tell you right now how many sessions in a row to make. And so when you are committed and you make those sessions, just see what shows up for your life as you allow every single week, 2 times a week that we do this, and it will be 11 calls. So if you make the next 11 calls in a row, see if this chapter opens up anything for you. All right. So like I was saying earlier, before going into this call here today, I've been struggling. I've been struggling with something with a business partner of mine. Just like, can this person honor their word? And it really challenges me, and it's great now, but I've been losing my shit. Okay, I've been losing my shit. Just somebody that keeps breaking their word with me. I was not just frustrated, but I was attacking, and I was shaming, I was blaming, and I knew I was doing that. And every time I did it, I felt really terrible afterwards too. But I just couldn't stop. I was like, bro, do you respect our relationship, or like, is anything important, or like what's the deal? And I was stuck in this loop week after week after week, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of when my babeski, my wife here, we had a little time of separation in the beginning of the year. I was just looping. I couldn't get out of I'm the victim, and the problem is not me, and he's the problem. And so we have those sometimes. We just like, there are people in our lives, especially our family members, that can create this loop for us. But especially our spouses, our kids, business partners. I was just stuck in this loop. Yeah, Brooke. And it wasn't working. No matter what I was saying, it wasn't working, and I would just blow up. And you guys probably can't even imagine what that looks like, but I would just be like, dude, what the fuck is wrong? Just like go off, and you guys would be like, wow, that's crazy, Alex. Or you guys might say, that's refreshing that you are a human being too. But no, I really started praying. I praying a lot, every time it was happening. And I keep saying the same thing that I always say is, Spirit, show me another way to look at this, right? I want to see peace instead of this. And I just couldn't get it. Last night, I couldn't sleep. I'm like, man, I'm going to go onto this ACIM call. I'm going to feel like shit. And it's been affecting, and I can feel it while I'm like meeting with people, or I'm doing my calls, because it's in the back of my mind, and I'm not present, and my wife just texted me directly. So one of the things I used to say when we get into a fight or an argument, I would be like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Oh man, that was hilarious. Thanks. It's actually funny to think about me doing that, but it was so serious back then when I was like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? That was my line, And now that I think about it, it's actually kind of funny. But anyways, finally last night, as I was sitting out in front of my house, just having a smoke, just trying to ground myself into today's call. It was like 3 a.m. Okay, and right now it's 7 a.m. I'm like, wow. I can't sleep. I'm very distressed right now. And what finally came to me out of nowhere, it wasn't an answer. It was a shift inside me. And it was like, what are you grateful for in this relationship? And then I just started thinking about all the things. I'm like, man, I'm so grateful, one, for this experience right here, right now, that I just went from complete distress, cortisol probably all over, all sky high, and just feeling this sense of peace over me. And so at first I was kind of just like experiencing it, but I really could feel, and I started to focus on all the things that I appreciate and that I felt gratitude for. I remembered who this person is beneath this conflict that we have. And the Course would say that I stopped seeing what wasn't there. I stopped defending my illusions, and I actually started to see what's there. And it's a brother. Last week we shared, you're never upset for the reason that you think. And the Course says, your distress comes from seeing what is not there. And that was the line that actually reminded, it came to my mind. It was like, you are seeing what's not here right now. You're not seeing your brother for who he is. You're seeing what you want him to be. And you don't really know what you want. And the next line from A Course in Miracles comes, you don't perceive your own best interest. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for this humbling moment. And I just began to become more and more grateful. And I realized that the ego is, and I always know this, the ego is calling me to war all the time, but God is always calling me to see. And so both voices are kind of saying, hey, here is the way to look. The ego's really loud, the ego's really intense. And so the moment that I felt the sense of peace, I knew that I'm looking through the lens of the Holy Spirit right now. And so the line came to me that gratitude is the gateway to God's vision. It was first, gratitude was the gateway to the Holy Spirit. And so that's the email that I sent out to everybody this morning. And I really started to feel peace in all the situations that felt like it was arising, all the problems. It was just so easy. It wasn't even, I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, what am I stressing over? And so it's great because this is how chapter 14 really starts. And so, of course, a part of me was calling myself to have this experience so that chapter 14 can be as powerful for me as possible. And in chapter 14, it begins with, the only thing that is required for the Holy Spirit's teaching is a little willingness. And so this chapter isn't about choosing our teacher. We will continue to learn from fear, guilt, and like, will we, right? Like, continue to learn from that? Or will we finally let truth teach us? Let the Holy Spirit teach us. Will we continue to have to learn through pain, guilt, or control? Or can we finally choose joy and truth and gratitude? Now, both can, the Holy Spirit can use both to teach you. But that suffering is an option. That's your thing. That's just for you. All right, so then it's not about fighting the ego. It's about listening to a different voice. I was fighting it for 2 weeks. I was fighting it. I was attacking, and then I was feeling bad about attacking. And my experience is just like constantly, I couldn't even be present wherever and it blocked my downloads. And so this chapter is going to remind us that we teach what we believe, right? And in those moments I was teaching. It was a direct reflection of my belief in the ego. And so from this last night, I was like, from this moment forward, I can see again. And this is that moment that truth becomes the teacher again, that spirit becomes the teacher again. So as we go into this chapter today, I mean, I wanted to share personal experience. I'm always sharing exactly what I'm going through because I feel like, this call is a space not just for everyone here to share, but also for me to continue to go through all the challenges and navigate life. And then I love to just share how I'm navigating it. It actually makes me feel more safe, right? Because sometimes some of these things are a little bit embarrassing to say, especially when I'm like a crazy person, But whatever, this is safe. Yeah, I love to just open it up a little bit for everyone here. Like, what's on your hearts? What's wanting to be shared right now? Oops. What's wanting to be shared? Anybody feel compelled to share anything? Yay, Jill. Lead the way.
I know. Thank you for being so openly honest, vulnerable, and real, like you always are. So authentic, Alex. I appreciate it. So, as you all know, I have a new bonus son, and but this morning I got a text from him, and it totally freaked me out. We
Mm.
talk all day, every day. He's going back to work today. He works in sound in Hollywood, and he was off for a couple of days, so we were, talking all the time, and I know he's sensitive to what he asked because after he wrote all that, he wrote me, "Are you okay?" He texted me something, and what he texted me was like, I've already agreed to make him CEO of the company. That's like a given. We're working on, making those paperwork things. But he wrote me something about he wanted 51% of the company.
Mm.
And when he wrote me that, it felt so aggressive and so like freaked me out. And so I just got into work, but that's what I got on my way into work. And last week on the call, the last call we had, we were talking about boundaries, and or you were talking about them, but I had when I first was talking, I was mentioning how I didn't watch these negative movies and all of that. And in a way, I was thinking when you were talking about boundaries, I'm going a little bit all over the place. Um, I thought, but that is a boundary. For me, that's a boundary that, I don't want to watch those kind of movies. So I was thinking it kind of fit into that conversation, but at the time I didn't, put it out there, but I'm putting that thing out there right now. And I know we'll work this out, but it just was like everything was, I was on such a high, right? And all of a sudden that came through, and it just like, whoa, I watched myself just drop in my trust, in my, I mean, all the things. And I just am sort of in shock.
Hmm. It's
I'm like
interesting.
sitting here in shock. But I mean, he's already writing me 3 or 4 times today about stuff. So I know we're going to be chatting, but I just don't know what to do.
It's really interesting that we actually ended the call on the last one as if you were to let go of this company, that you would be able to truly let it go and be like, whatever, run it however way you want. Here it is. I've stewarded it long enough. You take it now. And then the moment it's like, well, I just want 1% more or 2% more than you. And then it's like all that fear comes back. It's like, well, were we really ready to let it go, or do we still want control, right? Because when you're truly, really ready to let it go, there's the it's peace that you really want, not control. You want peace of mind. But we think the peace of mind is in if I just had a little more control. If people just why doesn't he just take 49 and just call it a day, or 50-50? I'm good with 50-50. That sounds
Right,
fair,
right,
right? And so there's still a part of you that's like, no, I don't trust that you would take it and do the right thing, so I need to make sure I'm still here for it. And it's so funny. We ended the call last week or on Sunday
yeah,
with it, and then boom,
yeah.
here it comes with just
I know.
a little push. It wasn't even like a lot. It's just a little push,
Oh
and
no, that's a lot of a push
well,
because
it's
that's like a
relative.
very, it feels like a very aggressive right out of the gate push, especially because you probably experience this too, Alex, that people that are working for your vision, you're not paying them anything in some cases. And so, and no one has asked, like the people that are been working with me for years, no one has said, oh, I want this amount of percentage, I want that percentage, blah, blah, blah. They're just walking out in faith as it has been. And then when that investment banker asked for 10% and wasn't going to give anything, I was like, no, that doesn't feel too good. And the sharky kind of thing. And then when somebody else who had been helping asked for 10%, I was like, 10% of what? We're not there yet. I don't know what to do. But then when this came in, it totally freaked me out.
I know, but do you see that it's still not gone anywhere? Right? Like this whole thing has just been dragged out of no people
Yeah.
are afraid to ask for percentage. People aren't going to go all in if it's free. Yes, they believe in the vision, but just nobody is giving up all of their time for free. You know, like there is if it, that's why it's not getting anywhere. That's why nothing's being built, nothing's happening. There's no money injection, no investment because everything is just free, 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 free. So, anyways, that's besides the point. This is the conversation is really just remember all distress comes from seeing things the way that we want to see it rather than the way that they truly are. You know, and when people ask me too, they're like, "Hey, I'm starting a company and somebody is coming in and doing this. Should I give them 50%?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, he's like, but I want everybody to have equal control. One of my good brothers, he's starting a business, a concept
Yeah.
right now, and he wants to bring 12 people on, everybody equal partnerships.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but here, and this can be my projection, right? But I'm like, in the beginning, when you have a vision, you have to be able to enforce your vision, right? Because your vision's going to go nowhere when all of a sudden 12 people are making decisions together. You guys will literally do nothing. You know, it will just be a conversation week after week after week, and nobody will get to, but somebody needs to be able to make executive decisions, right? So that's the way I see it. And, you know, a lot of our world currently, right now, where we are, that's the way to have your vision come forth, right? I mean,
Well,
how?
there is a new Romeo who's part of my group. He is quite expert in blockchain and all the new cryptocurrency and all that stuff. And there is a new business model that's called a DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, which would fit your friend's desire to have everybody have an equal, have a pie slice. And so that's a new model that people are using because everything can be tracked in the blockchain. And because it can be tracked in the blockchain, your contribution is tracked as well. And that's your sort of pie share, so to speak.
Well, you
So,
do know all contribution is relative to our interpretation. You can contribute something, and now you think it's worth 5%. I think it's 10. Now what? So this is like we are not in a place in our world yet that we can live in such a harmonious way of equal distributions yet, right? And I think we are probably right on the cusp, and we're in a time that could happen,
yeah.
but we
Well,
just aren't yet.
it is happening. There are companies that are set up like that, so it already is happening. And but I think the real question here is really not about that. It's really peace,
Yeah.
and it's really do I have peace? And because my peace right now has, so to speak, been threatened,
Hmm.
and and I feel uncomfortable, I know that that's an opportunity for growth. And but definitely it definitely shook me.
Hmm.
And I do think it's just has to do with boundaries, and maybe like you say, I'm just not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And also it felt a little just too aggressive right out of the gate for me. So I get it, and I know my husband would have been very similar. He would have just like, take charge kind of guy. And so there's that.
Yeah. Well, so here's the last thing I'm going to say for this is
Mm.
there's going to be a tendency to say, yes, it's the boundaries. They have to behave a certain way, stay outside of the boundary, stay over there, and then I'll have peace. That is going to only magnify the lack or the insecurity or the not enoughness that is inside. right? That would even have you feel like it's something outside that adds or takes away from me. So that's why last week our conversation around boundaries is, what is the boundary for? Not that the things outside the boundaries is dangerous. It's for me to be in a safe space to be able to assess that, but assessing that in such a way that I am responsible for my feelings of what's outside that boundary. Right? Like if I'm losing my peace, it's not because he was aggressive, it's because I am defending an illusion about something. One, the illusion about this project of ecotexture, right? I have an illusion. I have this crazy value that I've added to this thing because of the years I've put into it, and your late husband created it, and all of this. There's so much piled into the idea of what that is. And then there's also the idea of ownership. These are all the illusions that we are defending. In heaven, we're like, yeah, who cares about all that? We're like, yeah, eco texture, everything's already perfect. And then, or ownership, like, I don't know. I guess I'm happy with 10%. I guess I can be happy with 5%, right? Like, all of that just is where the peace resides for you. Is if you can be like, I would be extremely grateful if the vision came to reality and I only have 5%.
Yeah.
If you can come to that terms, right, all of a sudden this thing shifts. It's like, man, I get 49. I can have 49% and he's going to run with the entire thing and I just go do whatever I want now. And it's in someone's safe hands. Like, is it worth 49%? So I'm just going to leave you with that. Just make sure that you are looking at it as your relationship to this experience, not like he has to be this way or he was too aggressive or all of that, you know?
I really appreciate that perspective. It makes a lot of sense. And yeah, let's see if I'm there.
We're all just a holy instant away from being there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's the same thing I went through, right? This thing is gonna come like, oh my god, he was too aggressive. Oh my god, wait, all the fear is gonna come. Wait, all of the text messages and the love that we have with each other, was it all leading up to this like taking over of this thing that I love so much and I've been stewarding? Like all of that's gonna start coming up, right? And then all the good and all the love that ever existed all of a sudden became 10 million times heavier.
Right,
So,
right.
you
Well,
know,
good. I mean, aren't I lucky that it all comes up like this,
yeah,
so fast and furiously? But something kind of also magical has happened. It always happens at 7 o'clock in the morning at the beach. But this friend of mine who takes these charters to Greece on his boat, so I'm going to organize one with yoga and art lessons. So keep posted. It's going to be in September, and I'll post it on the chat here. It will be
cool.
a good deal, yeah. So yeah, we'll do a couple of charters in the Greek islands this summer in September, 1 week long charters.
Love
So
it.
should be fun. Thanks, Alex, always for your perspective and bringing me back to the core.
Thank you for always leading the way with the first to be willing to share. All right. Nicole. Hello, Nicole.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. So, I, I'm just sitting over here laughing. This is just too funny. So, thank you for sharing your story about your business partner. I last Monday I had spinal surgery, so I've just had a lot of time on my hands, which I don't usually have. It's been like this beautiful experience. I was horrified about having this surgery, and it's been so amazing because it's like 3 weeks of sit down and just be present, and it's stop working, which I never do, be alone. And it's just really been a really cool experience to show me that I don't have to work all of the time, which is the story I tell myself. But but with that, I've also had a lot of time on my hands. And on Friday, I had just this situation. We were at a business meeting or a Zoom meeting, and one of my business partners made a decision that I just like adamantly objected to, and it just sent me into like this weird frenzy where just became obsessed with what she had done or was trying to create, and just started like almost like this war against her. And my whole team supported me, all but one of my team members, who was definitely our most just probably, I don't know, she's just a really good human, and she just sees things different. She doesn't always have the best business sense, but she's just a good person, and she tried to kind of take me off the ledge and give me another perspective. And long story short, I just couldn't convince myself that this woman was not going to sabotage our entire existence. And 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 it's led up to today, which we have a kind of a follow-up meeting to address it. And like I said, now the whole team's supporting whatever I want to do, and I've decided, to go off the deep end with her. And I mean, I've lost sleep over it, and I'm trying to recover, and I can't think about anything else, and it's madness. And so I love that you said, like, oh, this situation has led us up to this chapter, and and all it was at the end of the day was, I just wanted to have control. I just wanted to make the choice, and it's really her choice because it is her role. And I just couldn't just stay in my lane because I'm the owner and I get to, it's just ridiculous. So I think this is really funny. I woke up and I saw the little message on my phone, and I'm like, I have to be on that call. So now I'm committed to being on the next 11. Hopefully I will not sabotage this whole thing today, and just sit back and because it's really just not that big of a deal. I mean, it's just not. I think I don't know. So it's great to hear that that you have that in the U. I can't even imagine you, Alex. I imagine you being like the greatest business partner in the world. I've never done business with you, but so it's nice to know you're human. So thank you.
Yeah, that's really funny. So it reminds me of another story. Want to hear how crazy I get? So back in Peru, we sit in this cactus plant medicine ceremony. So we sit around the fire all night, and there's a tent, there's a teepee, and there is we pass around, like, kind of like the mic, we call it. It's like the drum, and just goes to the next person. If you want to share something, like, throughout the whole night, we're just kind of going in circles, sharing and praying and singing songs. So if you want to sing, you can sing. If you want to play, something, you play. And I've been working on this one song. I was learning it. And this one guy, we were learning it together. And I was like, and he was like, okay, you gonna sing it? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sing it. And, like, he was sitting to my right, and he's like, yeah, I'm so excited for you and all that. And then as this one's coming around, I was gonna play it on my guitar, and so it reaches him, and he picks up the drum, and he starts to sing that song, and he plays it and sings it, and in all of my body, I just, like, in the space, like, in plant medicines, like, I was like, what? What just happened right here? That he's, like, egging me on, ready for me to sing this song, and then he goes and sings it right in front of me, right before me, and I just, I was holding on to this grievance and this resentment. I think a little part of me probably still is holding on to something. I really liked this guy before, and after that, I actually have a distorted image of him right now. So it's actually cool that it's brought that up, because now I got something else to work on. I probably should reach out to him. Yeah, so just craziness, little things, like, things that other people are like, why would you even trip over this? Right? So, like, we think about, is there something in our life? Is there people in our life that we're still seeing through the lens of resentment? Right? That's a beautiful thing for us to just start bringing awareness to that. Like, are we still trying to fix something, control something, punish someone? Punish someone into alignment with your seeing of them, or what you want them to be. So the code really is a prayer. Is a prayer of, show it. Let me see it differently. Show me how to look at this differently. I want to see peace instead of this. Instead of what I'm seeing, I want to see peace. So please show me. Please show me. You just got over and over until somehow gratitude will eventually come. So are we willing to just a little bit let gratitude shift our vision? And that's there's a line in the course in this chapter, but it's later on. It says that you have taught yourself what you are, but you have not let what you are teach you. So remember, the opening of the course is, what are you? You are love. So you have taught yourself what you are, but you have not let what you are teach you. So the course is full of these just like super dope one-liners. And some of them I just repeat like forever, you know? So yeah, let's any other thoughts, questions? Okay. So I'm going to just read one one section or one thing of A Year of Miracles. I can't even think about the word, one day, from Marianne Williamson. Okay, so I always like to open up with these, even though we've opened up many times, but we'll open up again. Only in my mind does the past exist. Oof. So the past doesn't really exist right now? Only in my mind does the past exist. Today I atone for the errors of my past and forgive others for theirs as well. So I'm always going to say this, but atone. People are usually like, okay, wait, what is atone? Does atone mean I have to do something to prove my worth? No, atone is just undoing. So anytime you hear the word atone, atonement, it's the undoing of something. Thus, I am free of the consequences of wrong-minded thought and action. Today, I dwell in the eternal present. In any moment, I am free to restart my life. So I am free to restart from this loop also. I am not held back by the mistakes of my past. As I atone for them in my heart, I undo them in my heart. Freeing myself from the chains of the past, I free the future to be unlike it. May the love in my heart today interrupt the patterns of the past. I release the future as I release the past. Knowing love will make all things right. Dwell fully in the present. I release both past and future to a higher place. I release the future as I release the past. That seems like something I want to put into a song. So, Task Nova, you have a task now. All right. Before we start to read here, does anybody feeling like something is wanting to be shared? It's a very short read here today, but it's the start of chapter 14. And I think all the things have led us here. So if you are, again, just joining, the invitation is we're starting a brand new chapter. Commit to the next 11 calls through each section and let the whole chapter speak to you. 11 calls is what, like 5 weeks, 5.5 weeks, 6 weeks? So the next 6 weeks, I'm going to focus and I am going to commit to being here for every section of chapter 14. Just an invitation. Just felt like I wanted to share that. All right, so without further ado then, let's start. Oh, no, just kidding. Claudia. Hi.
Give me a second because with my wet hands, I cannot open this font. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So, with all this about the business partners and the boundaries and everything, I have a little kind of ouchy today. I've been integrating a lot about my last partner. It was three plus years together. And today finalized that he had his car on my name and his plate and the insurance of the car, as it was a boundary for me because he was abusing some substances and driving around, and I didn't want to have that liability on my space. So today he sent me the last part of the car insurance. The car is out of my name now. Everything is out of my name. Thank goodness. And then at that point, I feel a little safe to offer again. And those 3.5 years of relationship, I had offered him to help him with his dental challenges. But I was never able to really, I started, and he was not committed to take care of himself. So it was a boundary for me as my role as a dentist. It was present of, if I do this to him and he doesn't have the care for his teeth, he's gonna lose them all. So it was a boundary for me not to give him that rehabilitation in his mouth, because it will make him more damage than the good. And a lot of the relationship was like that. It was like not loving himself, not caring about himself, always putting himself in situations that it was really, it didn't feel safe for me as my partner. So saying that, he finally completed the whole thing. And I say, thank you for providing that. And this is thank you to your beautiful wife, because we have been doing an amazing work with the Queen's Code. So thank you, love, for this. It's been like, wow, for me. So what is present for me is like, I finally felt a little safe to, like we've been doing this like conscious uncoupling since it's been like a year, but for him, it's been since last October. But, for women, we start grieving the process in the relationship. And then once it's done, we just move away, and then we already have almost completely grieving. For the men, it starts the day that we walk away, right? If they don't walk away first, of course. And that's the experience. So what is here for that is because I offer him to like, hey, now I feel a little safe. So when you're ready to get to see me again, I can support you on those teeth, right? And he says someone else is helping, offer something else. I have the best PPO insurance, and I'm gonna be doing this. And not to make him wrong, I'm very proud of him that he's taking that step, because when I was offered by me in different occasions, it was not received. And I know probably was a way how I presented to him or whatever, but again, saying this, it always was like trying to protect him for something that it was no very present for him, that is like self-love and self-care. So saying this, it was a little ouchy to hear that he's gonna be doing that with some other practice. And it's okay. I'm so happy for him, but it's an ouchie, right? Like I couldn't be received. And that's what it really is present for me. Even though I realized the day that the divorce was signed or submitted, that he didn't even have, in those 3 years that we were living under the same roof, he didn't have his license on the house name, on the house address. So meaning he always was with a foot out and a foot in. And it's ouchy too.
Yeah.
To feel that way. So, and that's what was present for me in this, but with a lot of love, I said, okay, be well. I hope you have the best results about your teeth and the self-care, and this is with a lot of love, I sent him that. So I just wanted to share that, because it really, it put me in like a tender spot today, just completing that. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, first I want to say that, I'm sending lots of love to both of you, but the little ouchie, right? It's actually, the ouchie is our conditional giving that we want to give. Like we're like, it needs to be received. I'm giving it to you this way. And I would just say also the 1 foot in, 1 foot out because of the, license not being changed. I wouldn't put that on there either, because sometimes for men, we're just lazy. We're like, too much stuff is going on. Like I still have my old address on here as well, And if it wasn't for love, I probably would still have my address from like Florida or something. So I think there's like the healing part is, well, here, I gave it. Here's a plate of amazing fruits. Whether you eat it or not, by all means, here, at least here's my giving, right? And the fact that you can come from your heart to give, that's already enough, right? For you, it's like, man, I'm in such a good place that I can even open myself up to give at this point. Like, that's beautiful. That's already a really beautiful thing. And of course, working with love. I mean, I know the Queen's Code thing is seriously, is really powerful. And I know what love's been doing, and everyone's been having. It feels like people are on like in the Course of Miracles call too. Like the feedback that I'm hearing, right? It's like there's just so much. There's definitely power and truth in the way that she talks about it, especially using it in our relationship, and so our communication has just, it's on a whole nother level. But yeah, so I would, if Babeski or Claudia, if you guys want to post the WhatsApp that you guys have for the Queen's Code, feel free to put it in our ACIM WhatsApp chat or in this chat on Zoom. So yeah, it's super dope. Okay, anything else? Thank you for sharing, Claudia. Appreciate you so much.
I just wanted to say, Alex, that it's funny you brought up about the business partnerships and all of the chaos that's happening. Because a lot of us that are in multifamily or different assets, I've had a lot of private conversations with people, and it's definitely a season. But the good thing about it, and this is what's that saying, like you learn who someone really is after a breakup or when shit hits the fan, then you really see people's true colors. And as you know, I moved my family across the country from California to Texas.
Wait, hold on. You see people's colors. You see people's colors when they're up against the walls. True would be beyond that. True would be God's presence, of God's an innocent child of God. That would be the truth behind. That's where we're getting to. But as fear and stuff comes up, how they respond to fear shows up, but that is still not the truth of who they are. So just wanted to.
But some of it, no, and I agree with you on some of that, but some of it's also character.
Yes.
Because all of us have been pushed in a corner, and I have not done anything immoral or unethical. And for me, I'd rather just rip the Band-Aid off and just be honest with people and say, you know what, this sucks, this is shitty, this is what has happened, this is how we're fixing it, this is how we're preventing it moving forward in the future. And when I see partners that aren't doing that and maybe not honoring it just becomes a pissing contest. And then it's like a big lesson of people. And the longer I've been in business, the more I realize I don't want to work with a lot of people. I'm happy working with maybe 2 people, 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny, and men are great, but the 3 people that I would work with that have the most ease of business are women.
Yeah.
And I know men don't tend to communicate enough. Women tend to over communicate. But at least the women I have partners with, if shit does hit the fan, the emotions are aside. This is what it is. We need to fix it. Get your emotions out of it. Kind of going back, to the situation that, God, I forgot her name. Where her son, who's now in her life or whatnot, is trying to take 51%.
Jill.
What's going to happen? Yeah. Is in all businesses, you need to just straight up lean with the data, facts, analytics. I know her husband was a part of this. We have to keep emotions inside, and that's put it aside. And that's pertinent because a lot of us are going through a lot of shit right now, and multifamily or deportations and loss of income for people, and and just business relationships in general, and it's just causing a lot of stress, which then leads to your home, right? Your husband, your wives, your children, it leaks over. And I just think as long as we're doing things morally and ethically, and you're not, trying to sweep things under the rug or put your head in the sand and clearly communicate, right? And I think that's my biggest thing I really wanted to say is when shit hits the fan, people's true colors come out. Yes, God has a way of doing things, but your actions, your morals, ethics, values, and what you do from then on out when shit does hit the fan says a lot about you. It really does. So,
well,
not I mean,
it
we can argue
says
that
it
this later.
says it says a lot about what we think of them, right? So even more so.
Right,
So,
but if you're doing something that, say you're stealing money,
uh-huh.
come on, if shit hits the fan and you're stealing money, that's a character thing for me. That is an ethical thing. If you really are a person of go, oh, I just spotted them,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. So I want to give you guys a maybe related or non-related example. Okay. People are doing the best they can. This is what I've came down to, right? I'm like, people just don't believe that they need to be their word. I mean, for me, like, I'm just like, okay, well, I guess not, right? But for me, that's ethical in business. That is good business. But what the hell do I really know at the end of the day? So I'm going to give you a funny example. A friend of mine, he grew up with all his brothers, and their whole lives they would share toothbrush. Now everyone was like, "What the hell?" Right? Like, see, now there's a that's wrong, that's gross or whatever, right? They would just just pick up whatever toothbrush and brush their teeth with it. They never thought about the germs and all the nastiness or whatever our society thinks about that. So when he first started dating his now wife, he would just use her toothbrush. Imagine you were dating somebody and your date just comes in on like the second date, just uses your toothbrush, and you're like, what happens then? Right? I mean, so maybe you can see the relation to this, what I'm trying to share here, right? Because he's just like, oh wait, did I do anything like wrong? Right? There's an innocence to it, but because we have distorted projections of how reality and how things should be, all of a sudden we're like, that's gross. Something's wrong with you, blah, 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 whatever else we give the name to, you know?
But they'll explain themselves, right? So I think an initial judgment, yes, that's human nature. Like, I probably was like, what are you doing? And I would laugh, like, what do you mean? And if he's like, oh, and may cultures do different things, right? Depending on, the situation. And hey, well,
Uh-huh.
me and my brother growing up, he said, okay, well, that's cool, but let me get you your own.
Yeah.
you know,
So,
it depends on the level of the thing that's happening,
right. So this is all
right?
different levels, right? So this is what the Course says. Miracles don't have levels. There's no order of difficulties in miracles showing up. It could be a small thing. A small shift from fear or judgment to gratitude and love is just as big of a miracle as, I don't know, something grand, right? Like a war stopping or something. So it's in our mind. All disturbances are equal in the effect to the level of disturbance in our mind. So it's all actually the line is all loss of peace is equally disturbing to the mind. So yeah. Anyways, I think that made sense. That the comparison somehow worked in my brain, but after I spoke it, I'm not sure where I was completely going with it, but kind of still makes sense to me. Araceli,
Thank you. Good morning.
good morning.
Uh, I want to refer to chapter 13, section 9, the cloud of guilt.
Yeah.
On number 7, it reminded me of projection versus perception. Projection comes from how I see things from my ego. The character that is living in this world, in this illusion, is not what I am. What I am is perfect, pure, and eternal and holy. So this chapter tells me to use the Holy Spirit to learn to perceive from love. And I learned throughout my life that when I use the word you, I could replace that for me. When I see people doing something versus when you see people doing something, that helps me take responsibility for how I see people doing the wrong stuff that my ego thinks is wrong. So I like to train my mind, and I do it constantly because, oh, you say this, you saw this. No, I saw it from my ego. And, and, and then what happens is learning to perceive. Uh, People do the wrong thing, they steal. Okay, let's use perception. How I remove the condemnation and the guilt to perhaps they don't know better. Or if I know they know better, then I send them a blessing. I cannot do it all the time because
Mm-hmm.
I messed up. Sometimes I let my ego take charge, but it's correcting every thought, every word, knowing that it's me the one that see the error from my ego, knowing that I am projecting the guilt from from my mind, my human thinking. So that's how the correction um, begins. That's what Jesus wants us to understand, that that we are the ones that are projecting this world. Whatever fault I see in the world is my ego.
Mm.
Is my ego. And I have to learn to perceive the innocence. What you just said before. Go beyond. And I like the example that you use because it's very innocent. The ego is used to doing some things, and it's okay. So we need to correct the thinking that happens. Perhaps other people don't like to use a common toothbrush. So then I see, perceiving, I can see the innocent go beyond, where the holiness is in every one of us. Because no matter how nasty, how rude, how malicious, how they turned out to be, the innocence is in him. And if I do that, it's the only way that I can remember who I am. I am I am holy. And until I stop this game of projection, I cannot see my holiness. It's a mirror. I see in the world either through the eyes of my ego, that's where the suffering happens for me, or I learn to see through the eyes of my Holy Spirit, forgiving and perceiving what the eyes of this body cannot see. I mean, it's easier said than done because I'm going through some issues right now. My brother-in-law is going to come here. I have to go and pick him up and his wife at the airport. And it's like my ego. And I say, I hope they don't come. And they lost the flight this morning from Atlanta. And I was like, oh, Araceli, I could hit myself in one cheek and the other cheek because I said, that's an ego and you created this. And I said, please, Holy Spirit, forgive me. Forgive me. My husband sent me a text that they were able to book themselves on another flight. So I said, my spirit was relieved because I know it's my ego creating this bad energy.
Yeah.
So that's what we had to do constantly. That's what I had to do constantly. Seeing who is thinking. Is it I'm giving the power of my mind to my ego, the identity that I think I am, and through that I'm looking at this nasty world, bad do's, or perceive. Thank you. I really like the way you let us talk, and your input is fabulous. Thank you so much.
I really love your shares. First of all, I just want to say when you say like rude, you're like you roll your R's or remember and you roll your R's. I really like that. Rude. I love it. Anyways,
Well, I'm Colombian.
no, I know, but I just thought it was really cool. But your shares are always great and it's always on point. When we talk about projections, like projection is of the ego. But why does the ego use projection? How does the ego use projection? The ego uses projection by creating an illusion inside, right? And it knows that this is your soft spot. Like, you're insecure about it, and the ego says, okay, let's go look at it. Where is it out in the world? And let's chuck your projection. Let's project onto it so we see it as out there and not in here, because the ego doesn't want you to actually find it inside. Because it doesn't want you to look inside. Because if you look inside, you will only find the altar of God. And then all those things will be undone. Right? So the projection is really a veil over the darkness that is actually inside. And as you look outwards, and that it's somebody else, it's someone else, you don't see the guilt and the shame that you actually are holding on to. And by not shining a light onto that, you cannot dispel that darkness. And that's the ego's game. The ego's game is constantly, don't shine a light inside. Because if you shine a light inside, you're going to find that this is a holy altar and you're an innocent child of God. But don't shine the light in there. Let's just keep looking out there. Right? So that's why the Course calls it projection. What is real in my mind, which isn't real in God or in present or love, but the ego's like, here, your fears, we're just going to keep generating that. Although it's an illusion, it wants to throw it out there, and then we just keep receiving it back, right? And then we project it onto others, and because there is no really others, as this illusion game of projection is being played, projection also brings other people into their ego. And same with what the Course makes a distinction called the extension. If you make God and your sacred altar the light that you're going to extend outwards, that's what you're going to see in the world too. So it's not how we perceive it. See, all of our conversations today have been about the way we perceive something and then we judge it. But really, that perception, whatever you just perceived, is the spot inside yourself that you get to shine a light onto. Because that's where the peace is going to come from, by shining a light onto that and realizing that, wow, that doesn't really exist, versus somebody else needs to dance differently for us to be at peace. Right? Okay. So yeah, thank you for bringing us back to the guiltless world in chapter 13 of the cloud of guilt. We from the moment that we separated, right? From the moment that we even existed onto this world, we've been taught separation. We've been taught to play smaller and smaller and smaller. So of course, there's this guilt that we carry. It's the innate guilt from the fall of man, right? From the tiny mad idea when our consciousness said, oh, what if I could be something else other than this? And then it took it seriously, and then the ego was born. Because if it was just a joke, we're, ha, 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 we're back to bliss, right? But we took it serious, like, oh wait, then I see you, and then the separation begins, right? That was the tiny mad idea. That's what the Course calls. Now, again, that's just actually us sleeping. We fell asleep, and that dream came. So it's hard to bring the two, it's a little bit challenging to bring what I'm saying right now, a very, very spiritual woo-woo, maybe not exists, into the reality of our world. But the best way the Course explains it is that you fell asleep. In the beginning of the Course, as Adam fell into a deep sleep, but never does it ever mention Adam waking up. So perhaps all of what we're experiencing right now is a very deep sleep. And when we wake up, we're in heaven, we're like, man, that was a great dream of me running a Course in Miracles call with 27 other me's that seemed like it was separate. What was that all about? Right? So, I don't know. It's a little out there, but one day, the Course says, in an instant, we will all remember wholeness and all the stuff that we're bickering and fighting about, and, is he his word? And does that make him a bad person or a good person? If he steals money, is he a good person, bad person? All of that just dissolves. So, someday, but while we're waiting in this dream, we might as well enjoy it. That's why the Course says your awakening is happening. It's a required course. It's happening. Only the time you take or what you do with it voluntarily, that's up to you. So is it going to be joyful or is it going to be painful? Do you want to go around yelling at everyone and judging everyone or guilt and feeling guilt and shame? Or can you just be like, yeah, that was great. He broke his word. Awesome. Still, innocent child of God. How far will you go with that? Oh, he killed somebody. All right. We're going to get started here. Oh my God. It's freaking 8:21 here. Okay. Good that it's a short read. So as we go into this read for the beginning of this chapter, it's a new moment, new chapter. Okay. New chapter and new space that we're creating for our learning. And so as chapter 14 begins here, take a deep breath, and on your out breath, just remove all the things that's in your mind now. Everything that you've ever learned. Let the past go so that you may release the future. And what was that line? I release the future as I release the past. So all in this present moment where nothing of the past is a reference point for what we are going to download here. Chapter 14, Teaching for Truth. Introduction. Yes, you are blessed indeed. Yet in this world you do not know it, but you have the means for learning it and seeing it quite clearly. The Holy Spirit uses logic as easily and as well as does the ego, except his conclusions are not insane. They take a direction exactly opposite, pointing as clearly to heaven as the ego points to darkness and to death. We have followed much of the ego's logic and have seen its logical conclusions. And having seen them, we have realized that they cannot be seen except in illusions, for there alone their seeming clearness seems to be clearly seen. Let us now turn away from them and follow the simple logic by which the Holy Spirit teaches the simple conclusions that speak for truth and only truth. So there's sometimes in the Course when it says the ego points to darkness and to death. What is death, right? Death doesn't really exist, but think about the example that I gave with my business partner. As this goes down, the only logical egoic conclusion is the death of the relationship. It's separation. And now the ego's like, thank God we're still in separation. And the vision of one world costs you the vision of the other. Both are here giving you logical solutions, but one has an insane outcome, which is death, and the other one has a sane outcome, which is truth, which is love, which is unity, unifying. Do we want to unify or do we want to separate? And so like the ego inside was like, yeah, but we got to separate from all the crazies. And then all the crazies realize, man, that crazies is me. The conditions of learning, section 1. If you are blessed and do not know it, you need to learn it must be so. The knowledge is not taught, but its conditions must be acquired, for it is they that have been thrown away. You have learned to bless and cannot give yourself what you have not. If then you offer blessing, it must have come first to you. And you must also have accepted it as yours, for how else could you give it away? That is why miracles offer you the testimony that you are blessed. So right now, it's just making a logical conclusion to the fact that you are blessed, right? If what you offer is complete forgiveness, you must have let guilt go, accepting the atonement for yourself and learning you are guiltless. Again, the atonement, the undoing of the image of the identity that I've created for myself. That's why the Course says the conditions for really the miracle worker, for the teacher of God, is to accept the atonement for yourself. You're not needing anything outside to change. It's about accepting the atonement for yourself. The undoing is an inside job. How could you learn what has been done for you, unknown to you, unless you do what you have to do, unknown to you, unless you do what you have to do if it had been done for you? Indirect proof of truth is needed in a world made of denial and without direction. You will perceive the need for this if you realize that to deny is the decision not to know. The logic of this world must therefore lead to nothing, for its goal is nothing. If you decide you have to give and be nothing except a dream, you must direct your thoughts onto oblivion. And if you have and give and are everything, then all this has been denied. Your thought system is closed off and wholly separated from the truth. This is an insane world, and do not underestimate the extent of its insanity. There is no area of your perception that it has not touched, and your dream is sacred to you. That is why God placed the Holy Spirit in you where you placed the dream. So we placed this dream, and this dream that we're having of all this conversation we've had up to today is all part of our dream, and that dream is sacred to us. We value it. And so because we value it, God also has placed the Holy Spirit in the dream with us to guide us back. All right. So seeing is always outward. Were your thoughts holy of you, the thought system you made would be forever dark. The thoughts the mind of God's Son projected or extends have all the power he gives to them. The thoughts he shared with God are beyond his belief, and those he made are his beliefs. And it is these, and not the truth, that he has chosen to defend and love. So we are defending and love the belief systems that we believe is true. They will not be taken from him, but they can be given up by him, for the source of their undoing is in him. So God and the Holy Spirit will not take our insanity and the ego from us, because it doesn't really exist. So the Holy Spirit doesn't see it. But the Holy Spirit sees that we are in a dream, and how we are responding is insane. So like our righteousness and our control will not be taken from us, but we can give it up. For the source of our undoing and the source of the insanity did come from our own doing. So, there is nothing in the world to teach him that the logic of the world is totally insane and leads to nothing. Yet in him who made this insane logic, there is one who knows it leads to nothing, for he knows everything. So the Holy Spirit in us, there is a higher self, a higher version of us that sees through all the illusions. There must be more in this world, because nothing in this world will actually lead us and teach us that this world is insane. Only this version, only the spirit in us that is guiding us, the voice, only God's voice is guiding us to see what is true. And that's why we will do things sometimes out of love that really there's no evidence to that it will work. We just want to be kind and we want to be loving, right? Any direction that will lead you where the Holy Spirit leads you goes nowhere. So if the Holy Spirit is not leading you, right? If I'm not coming from gratitude, if I didn't have that clarity vision, I'm not going anywhere. If I'm constantly going to the guilt and shame and attack, there is nowhere that I'm going besides the same loop. Anything you deny that the Holy Spirit knows to be true, you have denied yourself, and he must therefore teach you not to deny it. Undoing is indirect as doing is. You were created only to create, neither to see nor do. So we're not here to see or do, we're here to create. There are but indirect expressions of the will to live which have been blocked by the capricious and unholy whim of death and murder that your Father does not share with you. You have set yourself the task of sharing what cannot be shared. And while you think it's possible to learn to do this, you will not believe that it is possible to learn to do. The Holy Spirit, therefore, must begin his teaching by showing you what you can never learn. This message is not indirect, but he must introduce you to the simple truth into a thought system which has become so twisted and so complex you cannot see it means nothing. He merely looks at its foundation and dismisses it. But you, who cannot undo what you have made, nor escape the heavy burden of its dullness that lies upon your mind, cannot see through it. It deceives you because you choose to deceive yourself. Those who choose to deceive will merely attack direct approaches because they seem to encroach upon deception and strike at it. So this is why, think about communication. When we directly call somebody out, it doesn't freaking work. This is why the Holy Spirit does not directly call our insanity out. It merely looks at the foundations and dismisses it for us until we finally have suffered enough and said, hey, what do I do with this? There must be a better way. And immediately Spirit shows it to you and dismisses it for you. Right? So we are deceiving ourselves from our righteousness around what is true for us. Right? And we can look at anything from our beliefs to our bodies, to our philosophies, to what we believe is the right person to be the president of the United States. Like all of this is our beliefs that we are controlling to deceive ourselves from the truth. And so every single thing that you hold sacred to you, that makes up you, everything that is Alex, has to constantly be challenged, to look at. Now, of course, the way we challenge it is not like we attack it, but we give it over to God so that it could be something else. I'm releasing that version so that I release the future into an infinite possibility. And so if we ever hold the past, all that we are doing is we are putting a chain on the future. And the future would be always like my limiting beliefs around something. So it's not to shame or guilt that thing like, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong again. But it's let me give it over to God. And the way that we give it over is to say, I don't really know. Maybe. And so as we are in the inquiry of maybe, and I don't really know, God will show us a different way. Because we are opening our eyes to see differently. But if we just have a stuck idea, everything we see will just reinforce that. Because this world does not show us heaven. This world will not show us its own insanity. Only the Holy Spirit can show us that. And so here's the final thoughts as we close out here today is, where are we still holding on to this control, and are we punishing everything around us in life so that it could be in alignment to me, to my philosophy? This is true. Everything else is not. And everyone else that does not align to this is people that needs to be on the other side of the boundary. And before you know it, the ego will push everyone outside that boundary. Your boundary will get smaller and smaller until you suffocate yourself. And then all of a sudden, anyone that you come around, there is judgment around it. They drain your energy. So it's not about it's not about having the world align to us. It's about aligning ourselves to God. I had a really good a good quote that Kaya, my ChatGPT, helped me create. So, and I posted on my Instagram. It says, disturbance can have no meaning unless it is for some end in which you desire. So disturbance can have no meaning unless it is for some end which you desire. And that end is clearly not peace. So then we obviously, we must desire disturbances somehow, if there are disturbances as a result in our lives. And because we value our beliefs, we value our things, that's why we get ourselves into altercations and we lose peace. So we obviously didn't want peace in the first place. We value disturbances. We desire disturbances and war more than we desire peace. And let's just interrupt that today. And whatever we are righteous about, wherever we are holding resentments or we are withholding from somebody love, let's shift it. Interrupt it by asking God to do it for you. You don't need to do this. That's the whole thing. Ask God to do it. And so that's it. That's it. That's all, folks. That was a really powerful call. Thank you, guys. Thank you for my business partner for also for giving me this opportunity, of awareness and awakening, and for all of you guys showing up to participate in this conversation. I do feel like chapter 14 is going to come with a lot of oomph, a lot of energy. So,
Alex, I just wanted to comment. I've been on this call now with you for 6 years, I think, and I just want to say, I mean, it's gotten to the point where I don't even have to say anything, man, because you always have the right words, the right passages, just the energy, and it always comes at the message comes at just the right time. And I just noticed right now, sitting over here, I have like crazy storms. I have like an shutdown and all kinds of crazy shit going on. But I took the time to take this time over here for me, because this always brings me back. It always brings me back, somewhere, somehow. And I'm just enjoying. I'm in an Airbnb over here because I'm out of town. And I'm like, listen, I'm just gonna sit here for a minute and take this all in and everything. And it's like I just charged up my freaking my batteries right now, my Duracells, and I'm ready to go. And thank you so much for always being that guiding light.
Wow, thank you always for having the most beautiful words for me. And I'm gonna just read one last passage from Marianne Williamson's A Year of Miracles. It just seems so fitting as I opened it up. I'm like, should we read one more thing? Day 82. I free the universe from my efforts to control it. I cannot control the universe, though I act at times as though I think I can. The universe is planned for divine right functioning, and my efforts to control it only interrupt God's plans. Today, God's plan. There's only one plan. Today, I release the reins that are not mine to begin with. I will not try to control the world on any level or in any way. I free all things and people from the shackles of my own will. How different my life will be if I let go, allowing the universe to do its dance without my constant interference. Today, I release the thought that I know what is best for myself, for the world, or for anyone in it. I relax into the pattern of a divinely orchestrated universe, asking only to be guided where I can best fit in and be used in service to love's will. I free the universe from my efforts to control it. And as we do that, we free ourselves, and we're all going somewhere. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Much love.